Former Vice President of Nigeria and presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has often spoken about his 5 cardinal programs for rescuing Nigeria, if and when he wins next year's election. How practicable are they when considered against the peculiarities of the problems that currently ail Nigeria? For these and more, we're now being joined by Muyiwa Fafowora, a chieftain of PDP and an ally of the former VP. We also take him up on the chances of the PDP's Lagos governorship ticket of Dr. Olajide Adediran and Funke Akindele, the party's membership drive, and INEC preparation, among other things. You're welcome to the program. Good morning, Dr. Fafowora.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Good to have you join us.
It's a pleasure to be.
All right. Your man, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, has been trending, courtesy, of course, of the interview that he granted Arise a couple of days ago. And there are several issues that have come up from that. We also see that the opposition, particularly the ruling party, APC, has been responding to some of the points that Atiku Abubakar made in that interview, particularly in the area of the Muslim ticket. My question to you is not necessarily to reinforce what the Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu's camp has been saying, but to ask you if Atiku Abubakar is so concerned about the undesirability of a Muslim ticket that APC is putting forward. Why does he think that Nigerians wouldn't be worried about the fact that his candidature has gone contrary to the provisions of the PDP in Section 3C that clearly says that power will be rotated? What it means is that if Atiku wins, he will be succeeding a fellow Hausa Fulani northerner and a Muslim who is spending 8 years already. So why will he want Nigerians to reject the idea of a Muslim ticket of Shetima and Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whereas asking them to accept him to spend another 8 years as an Hausa Fulani man after Muhammadu Buhari? Don't you think that there are this is a conflict on its own?
Well, thank you very much. I don't see it as any conflict. What you should look at are the issues where Atiku Abubakar is a member of PDP. It's a different party from the present government where you have an APC president who happens to come from the north. So in the wisdom of our party, we had a primaries. There are people from the different parts of the country. And at the end of that primaries, Atiku Abubakar won. That is the beauty of democracy. We actually didn't zone. Our party was very clear about that. We didn't zone the presidency to any particular zone. It was free for all. And Atiku emerged. So that is the issue. Atiku is now the flag bearer of PDP. It has nothing to do with an Hausa Fulani president of APC. So let us get that straight clear.
All right, the Southeast has been a major stronghold of the PDP. Atiku stated in that interview that he has consistently picked a person of Igbo extraction as a running mate. When he was asked about former vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, camping to the Labour Party, and what he thinks of the Labour Party. He said that he doesn't think that the Labour Party has the structure to take away Southeast votes from the PDP. Now, many people have argued that Okowa, who he picked as his running mate, is not an Igbo man and cannot deliver the Southeast. Many supporters of Peter Obi, as you know, called the Obedience, have also responded to Atiku's claim, alleging the same. How do you respond?
Well, where we are now, after the primaries, if you have read the Electoral Act, it gave the candidate the right to choose who is going to work with him. And Nigeria being a very vast country, the president must be very careful to choose a running mate that can work with him, that is acceptable first to the party and then the generality of Nigeria. And what he did after the primaries was to have a committee to look at the possibilities of who can be his running mate. There were 3 names that were suggested. And Alhaji Atiku Abubakar decided to choose Governor Okowa, looking at who can work with him. And that's why we have Okowa as his running mate.
I mean, if we look at Atiku Abubakar himself, it's obviously clear that this is not his first rodeo as it pertains to trying to become president, and so far he has not been successful. When you look at this current political season and this current presidential election season, what makes this time any different for Atiku? Why do you think that he'd be able to win this election and none of the other ones he's tried to do so in the past?
Thank you. Look, we're in dire strait now. If you really look at this country today, there's no unity. If you look at our economy, I mean, it was last week that the finance minister was telling us that there might be a default in terms of paying our debt. Our debt is so huge. Last week, our national grid collapsed. You need somebody that has been tested. You need somebody that has experience. And that is what Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is bringing to the table. The experience, the knowledge, and the ability to accommodate everybody. And that's what he brings to the table.
Yeah, but lots of Nigerians would take you up on that. You know, one of the popular interviews that Atiku Abubakar himself has granted is to acknowledge the fact that the administration in which he served failed woefully as far as power, was concerned, and that $16 billion went down the drain. Sometimes, from what he said himself, that, some contractors were mobilized with as much as 100% upfront, yet did nothing, and no single arrest was made, unfortunately. He made that confession. If he could do that when he was a powerful vice president, why should people trust him that the same thing will not repeat itself and it will be, business as usual for contractor friends who failed woefully from Obasanjo's era to Yaradua to Jonathan? And apparently up till now, why should Nigerians trust him now that he will do better than he did when he was much younger and possibly much smarter?
Now, I'll take you on your statement. Leadership is acknowledging the good and the bad. When he was a vice president to President Olusegun Obasanjo, they came in with a military debt. We were owing so much money. And that regime was able to clear our debt. Of course, we didn't do very well in the area of power generation in that last 8 years. And it's acknowledging that was part of the problem they had. They were not able to generate enough power. Now he's not trying to be vice president. He's now trying to be the president, which means he will now have the ability, the command in the next 4 years to put that into order.
Okay, one of the things that the opposition is saying is that how much can we trust what Atiku says? And they made a reference, the Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu camp, for example, made a specific reference to is saying that he has always opposed a Muslim ticket. That was the point of departure from him, between him and Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2007. But then they are saying that that cannot be correct, because if you go back in time to 1993, when he ran at the SDP primaries and lost that primary to the late MK Abiola, that, the late General Musa Yaradua actually put him forward as the deputy, to MK Abiola, but it didn't work out. And it's on record that Atiku Abubakar did not mind serving as a running mate to MK Abiola until Babagana Kingibe was chosen over him. So they are saying that it's been cheeky and it's been clever by half to now come around later to say that he has always opposed a Muslim ticket. They are saying that when it suits him and when he stood to be the beneficiary, of course he wanted it. Should we trust him when he can flip-flop in that manner?
I will consider that hearsay. The man you are talking about in 1999, when he had the gubernatorial ticket of PDP in Adamawa State, his deputy governor was a Christian. So you look at practicality, this is not hearsay. The man came forward in 1999, before he was made the vice president of General Olusegun Obasanjo. His deputy in Adama was a Christian. And ever since he's been contesting, he has made sure there was a balance. So what you're telling me is hearsay. The man has always walked the talk. 2019, his vice was Peter Obi. Today, his vice is Okowa. They are both Christians from southern Nigeria. So hearsay is quite different from walking the talk.
All right, I wanted to take you back on the choice of Okowa as Atiku's running mate. You know, Atiku had claimed in that interview that he did not reject Governor Wike as a running mate, but rather picked someone that he can work with amicably, you know, someone who can unify the country. But yesterday, Governor Wike's media aide responded to the interview saying that Nigerians will soon know the truth about recent events in the party when Wike eventually speaks, almost insinuating a rebuttal to Atiku's claim. What do you make of this?
I want to remain a party man, and I've contested election twice and lost. It's a painful experience, and what we're trying to do now is to kind of reconcile our leaders. You must take Alhaji Atiku Abubakar on his words that he set up a committee and names were suggested to him, and he really has the right. We must continue to talk about the issues that would develop our politics in this country. It is the right of the president to choose who is going to work with him. It is not the media that would decide, or me, or somebody else. It is the president that would decide who is the best person to work with me for 4 years. So I think we're looking to what Governor Wike will say, but I believe Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has been very clear on that. 3 names were suggested, and he has the right to choose who is the best person that will work with him for the next 4 years. And that's why he decided to choose Governor Okowa.
Well, Prince, you know that, yes, 3 names were suggested, but then the whole point of having that committee in PDP suggesting 3 names was not just to bring out names, but to also show clearly who they preferred. And 14 out of 17 members of the committee picked Governor Wike, you know, simply for the reasons that, one, he came second at the primaries, and secondly, perhaps more importantly, he has been a major person sustaining the party all this while the party was in opposition. So if the committee had that mandate to make useful suggestion to the standard bearer, why will you discountenance the opinion of 14 out of 17 people and then pick Okowa? He could have picked Okowa from the beginning anyway without setting up a committee that would recommend to him. I think that's part of what Governor Wike seems to be angry about. And secondly, it's obvious now that Governor Wike is in talks with the APC. Do you foresee the likelihood of you losing Governor Wike to APC, or having him play a lukewarm attitude to the Atiku campaign, you know, when campaign starts in October? Because we saw clearly how 3 governors from APC were in, you know, discussion with him, and it looks like, you know, things are still not rosy between Atiku and Wike.
Thank you. Let me first take the first question. When you set up a committee in politics, that is inclusion. You want to include everybody in the decision making. 2, your last interview with Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, he was very clear on that report. He even asked the 2 people from your media house, do they want a copy of that report? There's nowhere in that report where there was a vote. There was just a recommendation of 3 names. So again to clear that there was nowhere in their report that there was a vote. And to go now to the issue of Governor Wike going to APC, you don't want to lose any member of your party, especially somebody special like Governor Wike, who has done a lot for our party. And we will still hope their leaders, their elders in the party, that will try their possible best to reach out to Governor Wike so that we don't lose a prominent member of our great party.
Well, we understand that there was a vote. He did debunk Benue State Governor's claim that the members set up that committee and 14 people picked Wike. Now, those 3 names, are you aware? Do you know if Governor Wike's name was part of it? And if it was part of it, I believe that is the grouse.
Well, if somebody is angry with a choice, let us go back to the Electoral Act. If you go back to the Electoral Act, it gives the candidate the right to choose who will be his deputy. So it's not a matter of you forcing yourself on board a ticket. The Electoral Act of 2022 is very clear. The president has the right to choose who will be his vice.
All righty, let's take a segue now away from this Wike issue and look at fuel subsidy. Also, during Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's interview with Arise, he said that he believed that if removing the fuel subsidy would be inevitable. You would be well aware that currently the Nigerian government is estimated that its petrol subsidy payment for all of 2023 could rise as high as 6.72 trillion naira. When you hear Atiku say that it is his intention and that it is inevitable to remove this fuel subsidy, how do you think that works out with his plans for the economy? Is that something that you also stand behind and agree with?
Well, that now I'm not speaking for Alhaji Atiku, but now you're asking for my own personal opinion. Look, we've not been innovative in this country. We have natural gas. Cars run on natural gas. We have cars that are hybrid. And we keep using petrol. Now, with the volatility of the crude oil business, if it goes up, we're in trouble. So what we need to do is to have a program of balancing out electric cars, natural gas to power our vehicle. We have abundant natural gas in this country. We probably will not be subjected to the international price. But if we keep using petrol and we actually don't even refine this petrol in Nigeria, we have no refinery right now that can refine. Hopefully the Dangote refinery will come on board. But again, if it's going to buy crude oil at a very high price, it's going to pass it to us. So first, I agree with Alhaji Atiku Abubakar that we should phase out this subsidy. It's just too much. 3 trillion a year or 2 trillion a year is just too much to subsidize petrol. We need to come with a formula that will be suitable for us in this country. That's my own personal opinion.
All right. I want to return quickly to the issue of trust for your man, Atiku Abubakar. He's been brandishing his credentials, and challenging others to say that, his own credentials are verifiable, but that others should also do the same thing. But then many Nigerians are also saying that an Atiku Abubakar, as a vice president, even while he was in service at the Nigerian Customs Service, that he ran against the provisions of the civil service rules and the Constitution of Nigeria by not only running a thriving private business, but also a business that was in direct competition, with the government of the Federation. And Atiku Abubakar justified it, saying that he didn't do anything untoward, by doing that. But people have clearly showed him what the civil service rules say and what the Constitution says about what he has done. How can Nigerians trust a man as their number one citizen if he will allow every manner of competition, every manner of, disapproval to stated rules by asking people the only thing that is allowed for civil servant is to go into farming and, to an extent, intellectual works, if you write a book or something like that, but not to set up a company, not to run a company, not to be diverted from your job as a civil servant. So Nigerians are wondering that can they really trust this gentleman?
I don't think that is absolutely true. My both parents were civil servants. And I remember in 1976, I was in secondary school, and my mother decided, look, I will soon retire. I wanted to do something. She actually set up what you would call a trading enterprise. What was then was you wouldn't have a conflict of what you do. Like if you were in a ministry and you start awarding a contract to yourself. There were civil servants who did menial trading. They were menial trading. And don't forget, we were in military rule. What you have now is best practices. Now that will not be possible, but then people still try as much as possible to make a little money just to, enhance their salary. So there was no conflict in what he was doing then.
He was not trying to make
yes,
a
there might be a
little
conflict because the laws.
He was not trying to make a little money. He had a thriving company with an Italian, on the board, an Italian that was bringing businesses that ought to have passed through government. But then he formed a company with this gentleman, what government ought to have handled directly. He formed a company with somebody who ought to be paying to the federal government. So he was not making little money. He was running a thriving business against the provisions of the civil service rules.
Now, this is an issue of about almost 40 years.
Okay.
How was Nigeria being run then? So we can't take issues of almost 35, 40 years. It's like talking about, that was military rule. It was done during the military rule. The laws then are quite different from the laws we have now.
The civil service rules were clear even under the military. And we had one of the best times for the civil service under the military. Those were the times of super permanent secretaries. And the rules were quite clear. Except you don't want to admit.
I will have to correct you. When Atiku, by that time we didn't have super palm sex. The super palm sex were in the early 70s. Atiku was not a senior officer of custom when you had those palm sex. Please, you need to probably go back to history. And the issue has been, then we were in the military rule. If Alhaji Atiku had run contrary to the laws of the land, was the man ever charged? Was he ever charged with a crime?
That he escaped the law didn't mean that he didn't, that he escaped punishment probably didn't mean that, he didn't run foul of the law. But I understand your position and it's okay.
All right. Well.
Yeah, you can't run foul of the law if you were never arrested, if you were never charged. That is more hearsay. If the man had run foul of the law 35 years ago, and you are bringing up today, I don't think it makes any sense to me.
Well, a lot has been said about the interview. One of the topics that was trending was the fact that, he said that 90% of the North are not on social media. That is in regards to Peter Obi's candidature, saying that Peter Obi may have little or no votes because, his supporters are basically on social media. One counter argument would be that there is no empirical evidence to back his claim. Or do you think Atiku was referring to a particular section of the North when he talked about that?
Look, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is a grassroots politician. And when you are contesting, you feel people. Well, social media has come into politics. And I call some people social media politicians. Politics in Nigeria is still grassroots. Mr. Peter Obi was a member of our party. He had the opportunity of being a vice president. If you look at the vote they had in the last election, the voters are still there. It is just that Peter Obi that has moved to another party. And that's why Alhaji Abubakar is saying the people that voted for that team will still vote for him this coming election in 2023.
Okay, I hear you on that. Well, he also talked about the fact that, I believe it was Dr. Reuben Abati that asked him how he differs from his opponent, that is the presidential candidate of the APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because many Nigerians say that they are birds of the same feather. As his spokesman, maybe you can help contrast this because, you know, Atiku did evade that question.
Well, let me correct you. I am not Alhaji Atiku Abubakar spokesperson. I am a supporter and a follower. Now, what will separate Alhaji Atiku Abubakar from the other opponents is continuity. A man from northern Nigeria with virtually no opportunity, got a job in custom, tried as much as possible to improve himself so that he could be promoted. He's done all that. After even coming into the political space, he keeps going back to school just to improve himself. He's a shining example for the younger generation that don't let anybody put you down. Keep striving, keep pushing. And that's what I respect in him.
All right, Prince Fafowora, let me have you talk a bit about Lagos politics. 4 years ago, you were on the platform of ADC, and you did try to run as governor. You, of course, admitted that it didn't quite work out. Today, you are in PDP. Today, ADC has a brilliant Lagosian as his governorship candidate for Lagos State, Funsho Doherty. But then your party has Jide Adediran with the Nollywood actress Funke Akindele as his running mate. What is your assessment of your candidates squaring up with the ruling party, you know, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of the APC and Funsho Doherty of the ADC, your former party? What are their chances? A lot of people are, you know, showing some concern at the choice of Funke Akindele, an actress, as the running mate to Dr. Adediran, and they're wondering if there is a level of seriousness to that choice. What would be your own opinion about it?
Well, you know, we had the primaries in our party, and Adediran won the primary election of PDP Lagos State. Fortunately for me, I was part of the Apex body, and there was this issue of who should be his running mate. Traditionally, the elders and the leaders of the party usually will choose the deputy governor. But because of the Electoral Act, we ran into trouble. The Electoral Act was very clear that the governor has the right to choose his deputy. And in actual sense, I was the one who stood up in the Apex committee to appeal to our leader, Chief Olabode George, that we shouldn't run foul of the Electoral Act, that we should allow the young man to choose his own deputy, because if he should fail, will be held responsible. And the leader agreed with me, and then we allowed him to present his deputy, who is Barrister Funke Akindele. I think their mindset is they want a very young team, and they want a balance. Adediran is a Muslim, Funke Akindele is a Christian. Adediran is from the Lagos West, Funke Akindele is from the Lagos State. So it looks like a balanced ticket. Well, I wouldn't worry too much about the ADC candidate. I'm not in ADC, I'm in PDP. Now, I will look at our chances with the President Governor of Lagos State. Our chances are very bright. Lagos is not working. We all know it's not working. The issues that we have is just the power of incumbency. It's not the Lagos of my dream. It's not the Lagos I expect to be what it is today. Virtually nothing is working in Lagos. And that is what we keep telling the electoral, the voters that, look, you need to change what is going on and it's not working. And that is our chances. Hopefully, the voters will have a change of heart and then vote PDP for governor.
I see that you are interested in identifying Funke Akindele as a lawyer rather than as an actress, and you're calling her a barrister. I'm not so sure if that's appropriate, though, for somebody who, as we understand, didn't go through the law school process. I'm not sure that if that is allowed, to call her a barrister. But that's not where I'm going. Just I
will take that and say lawyer. If she didn't go to the law school, then I'll take that back and then say a lawyer.
You still prefer the law part to the acting part. But then she's coming on board with 20 million followers, not as a lawyer, but as an actress. Just very quickly, can you just confirm if it is true that elders of the party are somewhat lukewarm towards the candidacy of Jide Adediran and Funke Akindele, and they are saying that the reason why Gbadebo Rose-Vival left the party, somebody who ran against him at the primaries and somebody who is very close to Chief Bode George, the part of the reason why he has gone to Labour is to show displeasure at the fact that Jide Adediran himself came from APC, and Funke Akindele, who was until 2 months ago was not a member of the PDP, has been chosen as the running mate. They're saying that the party members are lukewarm towards, this development. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say lukewarm. That is not the right word. What I will use is, in politics, there are winners and losers. And unfortunately, if you're on the losing train, your attitude becomes lukewarm. That's the way I will put it. We have a candidate in our party. He's chosen as deputy. We'll move on.
All right. Prince Muyiwa Fafowora, we want to thank you very much for joining us today on The Morning Show. Thank you so much for your time.